Imagine a swarm of thousands of individual particles, each operating with its own agenda. Without a governing logic, their movement cancels out. The same is true for human effort. To build anything larger than what one person can carry, early societies required a mechanism to organize disparate actions into a single vector. The Great Pyramids stand as early proof of this alignment. Coordinating workers and vast resources millennia ago required a highly sophisticated, deliberate system of organization. By the early 20th century, mechanical engineer Frederick Winslow Taylor defined this emerging discipline. He called it the art of knowing exactly what you want done in the best and cheapest way. But efficiency alone omits the people actually doing the work. Management thinker Mary Parker Follett refined the concept, arguing that management relies entirely on getting things done through the efforts of others. Individual ambition does not scale organically. Organizations rely on a deliberate mechanism to forge raw inputs into predictable, unified action. For decades, academics debated how to classify this mechanism. Is management a hard, verifiable science or an intuitive art? Early theorists leaned heavily towards science. They conducted rigorous, systematic tests on factory floors to create universal laws of human behavior and output. But human beings resist strict mathematical predictability. The variables of a dynamic workplace require managers to apply subjective judgment, intuition, and creative problem-solving. This animated diagram illustrates how psychologist Edgar Schein resolved the debate. He categorized management as neither an exact science nor a pure art, but as a distinct profession, complete with codified knowledge, formal training, and strict codes of ethics. To practice this profession, you have to understand the universal operating system that powers it. Regardless of an organization's scale or sector, professional management executes its goals through a definable, repeatable cycle. Historically, the British and American schools of thought divided this cycle into two distinct camps: administration versus management. Early American researchers argued that administration was the thinking function, formulating policy at the top, while management was strictly the implementation function on the ground. Modern consensus, led by theorists like Keith Davis, corrects this split. The processes of administration and management are functionally identical. This timeline shows how early, complex acronyms from theorists like Gulick and Fayel eventually streamlined into a modern 5-part cyclical engine. We now recognize a unified 5-pillar model that governs how an organization operates. Strip away the historical jargon, and you are left with a highly efficient, closed-loop system that drives all corporate hierarchy. This chart shows the first pillar, planning. It bridges present and future, establishing the exact trajectory. External factors, like economic environments, are weighed against internal financial stability. Next, organizing identifies specific tasks. It maps exact authority delegation, blending men, materials, and money to interlock separate divisions. Planning sets the destination. Organizing builds the exact vehicle required to get there. The third gear, staffing, analyzes the structure to find precise individuals. As the hierarchy slider shifts to middle management, staffing aligns human skills and attitudes to broader organizational goals. Reaching the execution phase, directing, managers now exert influence through leadership, motivation, and active supervision. The clarity of this phase determines an organization's survival. Miscommunication or poorly transmitted instructions during the directing phase frequently cause organizational failure worldwide. Staffing loads the organization with potential energy. Directing provides the spark that converts it into kinetic operational action. The cycle concludes with the 5th pillar, controlling. Despite the name, this function is not about restricting employees or micromanaging their workflow. The controlling gear acts as a scanner, checking for deviations from the original plan by analyzing budgets and performance targets against a baseline standard. Crucially, it creates a feedback loop, feeding data directly back into the planning phase to prompt immediate corrective action. These 5 functions do not form a linear, one-time checklist. They are a continuous, self-correcting ecosystem that keeps an organization viable. But remember, this management engine doesn't run in a vacuum. It is constantly bombarded by volatile external forces. The first major shock is globalization. Cross-border trade and the integration of global economies exponentially increase the complexity of daily operations. The second shock is rapid technological change. The speed of innovation forces businesses to constantly adapt how they process information and distribute their products. The leap from mainframes to hyper-connected mobile networks means managers now oversee decentralized workforces across multiple time zones. The third shock is workforce diversity. Modern organizations must integrate complex, multicultural cognitive backgrounds to retain talent and solve novel problems. These variables are not anomalies. They constitute the permanent, high-pressure environment surrounding the management engine. The engine absorbs these external disruptions. Controlling detects deviation, instantly signaling planning to pivot the strategy. Simultaneously, staffing and directing pillars rewire themselves, leveraging diverse cognitive inputs for creative problem-solving. This process is known as change management. It is not a single event, but the practice of making continuous adaptation an organizational habit. A modern manager's ultimate job is to operate as a change agent, using the 5-pillar framework to navigate resistance. Management is the disciplined, cyclical application of these core functions. It is the essential bridge between raw human potential and the shifting realities of the modern world.